Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, March the 18th, 2019. You're listening to RadioFreeRadford.com. If you haven't done so already, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the ways you can find us on the air and online at RadioFreeRadford.com. If you've been listening to us this morning, we are discussing our brand new, fully functioned website. It's still the same thing, but it's up and running again. We're thankful we were able to get that running. I think it was Thursday of last week. I'm not too sure, but I know Tristan Lake Ryan's worked tirelessly behind the clock to get that up and make sure that was running in full and function. So yeah, I think it was Friday. No, Thursday is when it was published up. So there you go. Alrighty, this morning we are welcoming back winter again. It seems like we had some nice weather over spring break. We did see some sunshine, which was very unusual because we've been typically seeing rain just about every single day here in the New River Valley and most across to the state of Virginia. But today and this week, maybe our first time since last summer, we've seen a full week of sunshine. How about that? So we're very thankful to get that back and getting up today. We're going to be getting up to about 50 degrees, a little chilly out there. And of course, to remind you, spring is just 2 days away. And boy, I think we're all ready for spring fever. If you picked that up, if you went to the beach or wherever you went to, I know a lot of people went out of state. And boy, we had some big news to talk about our basketball team. We're going to talk about that coming up later in the show today. And so that's an excitement for sure. So anyway, we'll talk about that. And we also have talk about our guests I'm trying to get scheduled on this week. I worked a little bit around the clock during break. To get some people on the show. I messaged some people the day before we left on that following Thursday, but before Friday to get here. And so called some folks up, and we're going to have hopefully some guests scheduled this week. We'll see what's in the making for sure. Alrighty, coming up back here, your same old rituals, quote of the day and National Day today. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day to all those out there. That is, it's all about, Irish and all that type of stuff, getting in with it and so St. Patrick's Day, obviously it's the luck of the Irish, as they say, and they're always after me Lucky Charms, as they say on that little commercial with the cereal, getting those as well. So a lot of people get this holiday confused, where it was originated from, how, where, even why we came up with this holiday. So in reality, biblical speaking, there was a saint. His name was St. Patrick. This came about in the early 17th century. And so that a lot of things people talk about with him. So there's some statistics. This is on nationalday.com. People refers to this, about 1,000 Americans, everyone consider this a green holiday. The statistics show that 68% of Americans love St. Patrick's Day. Meanwhile, there's another about 24% say, I like it, it's okay. They have the dislikes, about 6% and there's 2% of them say they just hate it. So plans to way people celebrate it. St. Patrick's Day, obviously the St. Patrick's Day parade in Roanoke took place Saturday from 11 to 1. And then, of course, they had the St. Patrick's Day festivals all weekend around the area. So 30% say, wear green. Now, as a weatherman here, I'm most of the time behind a green screen. Unfortunately, I cannot wear green. If I do wear green in front of the chroma key wall with the green, you're just going to see floating hands and a head. And so that's like a ghostal type thing. So, unfortunately, thankfully, I was off yesterday and I was able to wear green. So I was able not to get pinched. People like to say that, if you don't wear green, you get pinched. And so anyway, 13% enjoy you can get the food. 12% say they didn't plan to celebrate. 9% say they were pinched that were wearing green, and obviously that's a brewery holiday, so there's about 8%, there's green beer out there, which is very weird, never think of that. So, but I'm not promoting alcohol drinking. Don't do that. It's not good. So just be very safe about it, whatever you do. But teenagers, don't do that type of stuff. Please don't. And of course, 6% say they go to St. Patrick's Day. So there's a list of what does it mean to you. 30% say they want to celebrate the Irish culture, and I got to get that in there. And 13% they don't. They really don't know, but they like it. And 12%, they feel religious of St. Patrick, so that's the biblical speaking. And 9% get this is ridiculous. Say they drank beer. That's the excuse for drinking it. I tell you what. So anyway, people also refer to it as a luck of the day of getting those 4-leaf clovers. Very, very hard to find a 4-leaf clover. You can try your hardest to find one. it is going to take some skill to get you a perfect four-leaf clover. If you do find one as well. They say, it's St. Patrick, all about the luck of the Irish, and people consider it winning the lottery. Wearing green is just the most fun of the going to town. People like to spray paint their hair, and some of them, there was this one person, this was a child in the parade. I know the WDBJ7 folks were out there. They live streamed it on their Facebook page, and they interviewed this kid. He was dressed in UVA colors, orange, big wig all around his hair, and green all over his face. Looked like one of those people from Ireland almost. Got the skirt and everything painted on it. I thought that was kind of cool. But the spirit of the kids, they enjoy going all out, talking green pants, green shirts, and everything. And so, but hey, there you go. And then the parades in Ireland, especially yesterday, since yesterday was the main day. So for it to be, and of course, in Chicago, I think they dyed the water there green, the White House lawn. It's already green enough, and so they just added green dye to the fountain there in Washington. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody as well. All right, today is National Awkward Moments Day. We've all had that moment where you're dating with someone, and you're on a blind date or whatever, and you say something you kind of regret. You're like, what did I just say? Did I really say that to her or him or whatever? You kind of like, huh, what? So this is kind of, especially about this time here in college, we all have awkward moments. I've had them many times. And, whether not dating but running into somebody I thought you were, but no, not really. So anyway, we all remember La La Land with the Oscars that did not win the Best Picture. Moonlight was originally back in 2017. And, boy, who can forget Steve Harvey, right? Who remembers Steve Harvey made the big mistake of nominating the Miss America's TV pageant. And, boy, that was a big confusion. But to this day, he still hosts it. I hope there's not many involvements of mixing the countries up in Miss America. So, anyway, still to this day, he hosts it. And so this universe has a funny way of reminding us that we shouldn't take life seriously, have a little fun. None of us are perfect. That's absolutely true. And I'm not perfect all the time, even though I try to be. It's very hard to do. You kind of make mistakes occasionally. And you put the door and you forget what you just did. And so let's say you walk in the door and take the time to embrace the awkwardness of just slamming the door behind somebody that you think that you knew, but in reality you didn't. And you actually like, really, why did I do that? So, and, like I said, reflecting and getting that awkward friendship relation, thinking you know who somebody is and you're getting them mixed up. I've done this before, and people I know it's also done this. And so anyway, but we get a good laugh out of it. So, and we'll talk about that tomorrow because it's National Laugh Day tomorrow. On more here on Radio Free Airball. Radio Free Radford. There we go. Just rumbling on. Paralybical is the word of the day. I think I said that correctly. It is expressed or by being parable or of having the form of relating to a curve formed by the intersection of a cone in plane parallel to an element of a cone. More of a driving instinct type thing. Anything else out there? I think maybe not. We'll see. And it's also National Sloppy Joe Day. Gonna make you a Sloppy Joe for lunch, I guess, or dinner, or whatever you're going to be doing that. Alrighty, let's see. The basketball team, man, I tell you what, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the basketball game yesterday because I was coming back in from break, and I came back a little bit after 5:30, at 4:30 or so, and I saw on Instagram and Twitter, big congratulations to the women's basketball team. They just outstandingly made a big comeback. Playing Campbell yesterday. The score was, what was this? I can pull up the score exactly right here in front of me as I'm pulling that up right now. Follow RU_athletics as they'll be updating the women's basketball team every moment as they've been doing for sure. They will be going dancing as in going to the ACC tournament tonight. We will find out who they'll be playing on the ACC tournament later this week. I'm trying to pull the score up. I'm pulling it up. It was an outstanding score. Playing against Campbell, it was 57-45, 13 lead since 23 years since the Lady Highlanders have been excelling women's basketball team to the NCAA tournament. So tonight, come join them in the Bonnie at 6:30. They'll have the schedule of the tournament, who they'll play, and just big congratulations to them. We're trying to have, maybe got to tell it to some people, some of the players. I've been working with that, get them on maybe in the coming weeks to come after things settle down. And of course, the men's team, congratulations to them. Unfortunately, they did not make it to the NCAA tournament like they did last year. As you remember, they played Villanova, I think that's how you say it. Villanova. Anyway, that you know what I'm talking about, that university out there. Talked about that with them last year. I forget the score of who they played against, but they did an awesome season. We'll try to get in touch with some of them and maybe get some of the coaches on here and talk about what their strategy was of maintaining a perfect, almost perfect record, but it wasn't perfect. But anyway, RU_athletic, and you can also follow the women's basketball team and the men's basketball team. Men's basketball team is Radford MBB on Twitter, and it's Radford WBB on Twitter and Instagram. Same with the men's, but in Radford MBB, Instagram, Twitter, Radford WBB for the women's on Instagram and Twitter. So congratulations to them. You check them out for all the latest content here on Radford University. Alrighty, this coming week we are concluding spring and welcoming in winter, and welcoming in spring. You thought it would be spring, by now, right? So it begins Wednesday at 5:58 p.m. So, enjoy the vernal equinox. This is basically vernal. What does it mean? It is the translation to new and fresh, and equinox, and derived from the Latin aqueous or equal, and nox, which is night. Regardless of what the weather is doing outside, the day is officially starting the spring season. So this essentially means our hours of daylight. As you may notice, we did spring forward last weekend. We're getting an extra hour. We had 12 hours of daylight yesterday. Perfect on timing on that. It's the period of each day during the sunrise and sunset have been growing slightly and longer. So it's dark in the mornings, later in the afternoon with the sunset. So in December, which is the shortest day, when the winter solstice began, means less light in the evening, but more in the morning. Of course, after the 3 months have took over, they will see the less light in the morning and then more so in the afternoon. Then it will be so that's pretty much what that means. And the sun will cross the equator to make it equal nights and days and hours. So while the northern hemisphere is seeing spring, the southern hemisphere will be experiencing fall. And so they're going to be seeing for that. And so there you go. That's a little bit of that, the spring equinox, and kind of gets us back on our normal timing pace of getting our timing for scheduling for the days and hours and so forth to be. Just a reminder, of course, if you have been following the news, unfortunately, there was a major shooting in New Zealand over the weekend. I think the death toll is at 50 as of today. White supremacists, I'm not quite sure, but this is what news has been gathering. The shooting down there at a mosque Friday, and unfortunately brought the sad news over the weekend. Unfortunately, this is becoming a new norm. It's sad, and it seems like since the Columbine shooting back in 97 or 98, I've kind of, it's very vaguely familiar. I don't quite remember all the details, but I know that was one of the massive school shootings. And it seems like since then, Sandy Hook, and then the Parkland shooting, and then that was this last year. And then, of course, that Florida shooting that took place back in 2016, I think it was. And then the one in Paris back in 2016 or 15, one of those years, they did that. It was unfortunate. So, and then here we are today talking about gun violence, and Congress and lawmakers, that people are very opinionated about what they're discussing, saying they should take away gun rights, or it's because of a mental health issue for someone who has a gun. Is it okay to own a gun? And then a lot of the things come back to the Second Amendment, your right to bear arms. That's what it means to be, So there's a lot of speculation on that, going into background checks, make sure it's okay. And obviously those major guns, I can't think of the name of it. It's the deadly ones. I can't quite put the name on it. Those, anyway, you know what I'm talking about out there. So their lawmakers are just trying to come into agreement and say, listen, we're trying to get this right. And meanwhile, if the Republicans say no, Democrats say yes. So that's this big debate about it. And then remember, we had Chris Hurst back on the show back in November, and you can check that out later on last semester's. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel, Radio Free Radford, November the 1st. He came on and talked about that. And, of course, the documentary kind of featured hinting a little bit of that, but more so on his victory of his election, which, speaking of which, he will be running again this coming fall. So I'm going to try to get in touch with him again, who was a politician, and the delegate in Richmond for this area, to come back on, talk about maybe his campaign for this coming fall. So anyway, and then, as you know, if you've been keeping up with the journalist Allison Parker, if you recall, back in 2015, August 26, 2015, about 6:45 a.m. Thank goodness I don't want to see the video, and of course the father doesn't either. Lost the life of a journalist, and of course the father of her 3 years later wrote a book. It's called For Allison, and you can go. It's on Amazon. I think you can check it out on there. And of course, if you want a signed copy, if you maybe contact him and get it signed for you. And so anyway, he's been here recently in the news. I possibly might get him on the show. Of course, I do know them very personally, as they're from Martinsville, and I'm a very small town. And so I'll probably, maybe later in the coming weeks, get him on, talk about his book and what he's been trying to do, and some of the things that he's been trying to push down, all these videos of the shooting. And who would want to see their daughter get shot on live television? If it's like, I would never want to see that happen to me, and I don't want to watch the video of it either. And very unfortunate. I met Allison, a very sweet, kind young lady, brightened her day. I even met the cameraman Adam Ward. Man, just an upbeat personality. You couldn't have been around any more two joyful people in the morning shift. Unfortunately, had to come to a tragic loss. And so, anyway, had to get my little spiel on that. And, it's just very unfortunate to see these things occurring over and over. And will there be an end to it? Who's to say? I hope there is. I very hope so. But, we're going to see what happens. We're going to let the ball roll on this one and see what goes on with that. Okay, enough of my rant on politics this morning. That's just something I had to get out. Reminder that coming out today, actually, on Wednesday, the Recovery Lounge will be open house here in the bottom of Tyler Hall at the lower level. Light refreshments will be provided from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. And, of course, remember to study. This is from the Tau Delta chapter of the Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. Presents the Tuesday from 7:22 to 9 in Waldron Hall. If you can catch up on your study. Wellness workshops there at the Wellness Center with fitness here, Recreation Center. Check out if you need some fitness. Maybe you can go check out the Gut Health. They'll be doing these workshops coming up in April. Fox and Fiercey will have Kick the CO2 Habit in Fluid and Financing. So those are coming up in April. And again, the wellness workshops, that's what I pretty much just mentioned there in the Recreation Center and so forth to be. All right, enough of my time this morning. We've got Corey Dembo we've got Terrence Schofield. Their shows got switched around. Coming up at 11 to 12. And then later on today on the show, we'll have, let's see who we have after Terrence. I know we have a break between that time and between 11 and 2, I think. Let's see here. It might be a quiet day here on Radio Free Radford. Of course, on the website, you see Isaiah Adair. He's with Blake Holmes. That has his show on Tuesdays from 2 to 3. And Zach Pettit from Pettit Puck Talk from 5 to 6. You can check out his show if you have an interest in watching and learning about hockey. He occasionally has guests on as well, so check him out and subscribe to his YouTube channel, Pettit Puck Talk, or Zach Pettit, and search up Pettit Puck Talk on Facebook, and like him as well, and he'll get a lot of things for sure coming about hockey and more sports to come. Alrighty, I'm Dustin Staples signing off for you on this Monday. Beautiful day out there, sunrise, gorgeous. We'll be getting that daylight extra every day, it seems like. By the middle of April, we'll be waking up about the crack of dawn, about 6 o'clock. Sun's already coming up along the horizon and setting about 8 o'clock or so, 8:15 until. That's not until late April, early May. And, of course, by that time, school will be out. So, wish you all the best the rest of the 6 weeks to go. You can do it, Highlanders. We wish our basketball team, women's basketball team, great success. Hopefully the NCAA tournament, as you know, they won the Big South yesterday. Moving on to the national college level. Wish them the best. And we have all that coming for you later in the week. Hopefully more guests coming on and working with that schedule later as I'm talking to you right now. Alrighty, folks, have a wonderful Monday. I'll be back with you tomorrow.